Hello, I want to thank you for clicking on my channel. I'm PI187, and today I'm going to be reacting to the top 50 British secret treasures, Series 1, Episode 1, 50 to 45. This comes from back in 2013. This is on the channel Little Monkey Fella. I'll leave a link down below if you want to check out the video without me talking, and if you want to check out some of the other stuff or something, or give him a like or a comment. Anyhow, let's get into this. Get some sound going. Alright, we ready? I'm ready.
And when I turned it over, I saw this gold colour and a royal crest of arms on it.
It came out of the ground shining, bright, shiny gold.
Objects left behind by our ancestors that tell the story of our country and how we once lived. These are Britain's secret treasures.
The British Museum, the world's treasure house. Inside this wonderful old building are some of the most remarkable objects that mankind has ever created.
But not all of these objects have been found by archaeologists. Many of them have been discovered by you, the great British public, in fields and rivers and gardens up and down the country, and then logged with the museum. I've joined a panel of experts to sift through nearly 1 million of your amazing finds and help select 50 of the greatest treasures unearthed by the public. Amazing. And all just a few feet or even a few inches beneath our feet. From gold and silver worth thousands of pounds
33,000.
to everyday objects made precious by the stories that they tell. Across the week, we'll be counting down the top 50 finds of recent years.
Tonight, a gold pendant with a remarkable secret.
That's amazing.
A war medal reveals the hero behind it.
The British were outnumbered 5 to 1.
And an ancient toy that gives us a window onto
Oh,
an
wow.
18th century childhood.
Oh!
But first, at number 50, our panel of experts has chosen an item that reveals a dark side to our ancient past.
Journalist John McCarthy has gone to Winchester to find out more.
It may come as a surprise that an item on a programme about Britain's greatest treasures isn't silver or gold or anything bling, but this, a slave shackle. It's part of a pair that once chained someone's feet together. This thing really affects me because I know how devastating it is to lose your freedom.
He was on his way to the airport when gunmen dragged him from his taxi.
Today, John McCarthy became the latest victim.
Back in 1986, I was working as a journalist in war-torn Lebanon when I was kidnapped by a militant group calling themselves Islamic Jihad. They held me captive for 5 years, and for most of that time, I was chained up like an animal.
Oh, wow.
The weight of the chain pulling on my ankle, a constant reminder that my life was in their hands, that at any moment my captors might kill me. And that's why this gruesome thing fascinates me. I want to know more about who might have worn it, and of course, why and when.
The Roman Empire was built on the back of slavery, and this 2,000-year-old slave shackle is rare evidence that it occurred in Britain. It was found by landscape gardener Jeremy de Montfalcon, near to the old Roman road that runs between Winchester and Silchester, which I'm currently driving along. It's the location of the find which may provide a clue as to why this ancient Britain was enslaved.
Maybe our slave was marched along it, but towards what fate?
Incredibly, Silchester still has the remains of a Roman amphitheatre, and that's where I'm heading next.
This is my first visit to an amphitheatre in Britain. Oh, wow. It's way bigger than I thought it would be.
Silchester Amphitheatre was the O2
Oh,
arena
wow,
of
not
its
much
time,
left of it
where
anymore.
thousands of people gathered for big events. I'm meeting Dr. John Pearce, an expert in all things Roman.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And what an amazing place this is.
Yes, it's always a real surprise when you get here. The scale of the place is really unexpected.
I'm not sure how my little slave shackle fits into the scene here.
If what happens here is like what happens in Italy, then the gladiators are the culminating part of the day. And you have the lead up to that, and what is commonly part of the lead up is public execution.
Would these people be beheaded?
People would be beheaded, or they would quite often be mauled to death by wild animals let loose.
The shackle
It's crazy that people found that to be entertaining at one time. Maybe it's a good thing we invented the television and other things, so we're not still doing stupid shit like this.
found by the Roman road could have been worn by a slave who was brought here, probably to their death.
So my slave, who may have walked from Silchester wearing this horrible thing, could have been brought into the arena, come in here surrounded by thousands of people, and then hearing the animals roaring.
Like, how could you really enjoy that? You'd have to be a sick fuck to do that, wouldn't you? To really enjoy this shit. Maybe everybody was a little sick in the head back then, but... Wow. That's horrible.
Everybody baying for blood. And then they'd stand here and maybe what wolves or bears would be released
Would be released into the arena.
And nowhere to run.
No.
Utterly horrific. It's amazing to think that some 2,000 years ago, a man or a woman was chained up using this shackle and probably going through many of the same emotions that I experienced in Lebanon. I think it's very important that this is on the list of Britain's greatest treasures. It's a chilling reminder of just how precious our freedom is and how easily it can be taken away by others.
Next up at number 49, a little boy who couldn't believe his luck when he struck gold.
Meet 5-year-old James Hyatt. He was playing with his father's metal detector in an Essex field.
I was gonna say at the beginning of this, when they talked about how much stuff people are finding there, do you have a lot of people going around with metal detectors? I think you probably would, or would have maybe at some point. I remember back here, maybe in the 80s and 90s, you just see a lot of people with metal detectors going around looking for stuff, school properties, old areas. You still see it sometimes. I actually saw one probably 2 weeks ago at a park where basically kids go to play. And so there are people still doing it. Now, he was probably looking for more recent stuff like change or rings or, not historical stuff. But at one time, you probably would have been finding a lot of historical stuff with the metal detectors. Especially over there with the history you got.
Rather exciting happened. What happened? Did you hear it making a funny noise?
Yeah.
What did it do?
It goes beep, 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 beep.
And then there's something special under the ground.
And I digged it up and there's something there.
And what was it?
Gold.
Real gold. It's amazing, James. It's a good thing you found it, isn't it? What James had found was exceptional. A treasure from around the time of King Henry VIII. I want to take a look for myself. It's a very, very beautiful thing. This pendant was actually made as a reliquary, somewhere where a holy relic would be stored. Back in Henry VIII's day, holy relics were the ultimate lucky charms. People treasured bits of hair, bone or clothes that they believed once belonged to saints, convinced they warded off evil.
Huh.
So what relic is in the Hockley pendant? This back panel actually opens up, and the British Museum has said I can have a look inside.
Now that is cool. I'm not a big gold fan myself. I could care less if I had or didn't have it or found it or didn't find it. The history part's more what I'm into. But the fact that opens up and there's something inside of it, That makes it way more valuable to me.
Wow, that is interesting. It looks to me as if there's just earth, it's just mud. It's a bit of a mystery. What relic could this be? I want to find out, so I'm meeting James Robinson, a man who knows all about the relic world. Before he tells me what's in little James's pendant, he's got some other strange examples to show me. In these boxes were believed to be the remains and body parts of some very holy people. Have these all got relics inside them?
They don't all have relics in them, but they're all made to contain relics. So, for instance, up here, there's the relic of the shin bone of Mary Magdalene. But the most sensational is the breast milk of the Virgin Mary, which is in this compartment here.
What? Yes.
Which is...
Did he say breast milk?
This compartment is the breast milk of the Virgin Mary.
Oh my God, he
which
did.
is in this compartment.
The look on her face, the way she shook her head, she's just like, what? Are you serious? Oh, wow, that'd be a little curdled, wouldn't it be not by now?
Here.
Yes.
Which is... It's incredible.
It is incredible. You know, what about my little Hockley pendant here? What does this tell you?
It's very difficult to be certain, but you could imagine from what's represented on the outside that it was actually made to contain a relic of the true cross.
That's amazing. So this thing has lain forgotten in the earth for centuries. A little boy finds it, and potentially it's got a little chip of Christ's cross in it.
It's an incredible survival. It really is.
Right now, the Hockley pendant is stored safely here at the British Museum, but the Southend Museum in Essex wants to raise the money to buy it. And that money will be split between the landowner and the finder. So whether or not it brought any luck to its original owner, it will almost certainly guarantee a little something for James's future.
One extremely happy little boy. While that pendant was about godliness, our next item is all about partying. In September 1662, a king's horse lost the decorative brass from its harness. It was found nearly 350 years later in Epsom by a local journalist, Mark Davison.
We sent archaeologist Helen Geek to meet him.
Number 48.
So how did you actually find it?
I got a large signal which sounded like a drinks can. I thought, oh, it's an old ashtray, just a few decades old. And when I turned it over, I saw this gold colour and then a royal crest of arms on it.
So what did it look like when it was cleaned up?
Wonderful, isn't it?
Wow. Wow, I've never seen anything quite
Very
like that.
impressive.
Yeah.
But this is no ordinary horse ornament. This horse brass bears the crest of Charles II, who was King of England 350 years ago.
Oh,
we know
wow.
Charles visited the place in Epsom where Mark found the horse brass. He went there for a party. The date, September the 1st, 1662, recorded by prolific diarist of the time, John Evelyn. But what was the party in aid of? To discover the answer, we need to go back a few years to when Charles's father, the first King Charles, was brought here to Whitehall in central London.
In January 1649, Charles I came to this precise spot in London where with one stroke of the executioner's axe, he was beheaded. And that act of regicide really shocked the country because for the first time there was no royal head of state, quite literally.
Young Charles fled to...
Are they going to tell us why they cut his head off, or just going to tell us that he got his head cut off? Did he do something really bad? Do the people hate him? Was he a dictator? Why did he get his head cut off?
Europe, and commoner Oliver Cromwell took over as ruler. Cromwell was a major killjoy, a party pooper, who even tried to ban Christmas. When he died in 16...
Well, something tells me he deserves to have his head cut off too, by the sounds of it. Wanted to end Christmas? What's up with that? Who doesn't love Christmas?
1658, the public decided they'd had enough of Cromwell's austerity programme. They wanted fun back in their lives, and who better to lead them than Charles II, the king of parties? So a bunch of aristocrats, including the Earl of Berkeley, owner of the estate where the horse brass was found, went to Europe to invite Charles back. Within a year, Charles II was crowned king here at Westminster Abbey, and that's why he went to the Earl of Berkeley's party in 1662. He wanted to publicly favour the Earl. And while he was at it, he just happened to lose a horse brass. And that's why this item, which is on long-term loan to Surrey's Bourne Hall Museum, is so exceptional. It's a portal to a precise day and party in the life of the man who brought fun back to Britain.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Coming up...
It's pretty neat how they actually have written history of how that actually got lost there. Like, not how it fell off, obviously, but why it is there, because they know for a fact he was there at one point. That's pretty cool. You don't get that with a lot of stuff.
An exquisite gold necklace, a tiny 18th century toy that packs a...
That I want to see. I want to see that little cannon toy. That is cool. And it looks like you might even shoot it off or something. Or maybe they were just showing you what it would have done. Maybe it might not even work anymore. But it's pretty crazy what we give. You know, you keep going back. What we gave kids toys to play with. I remember I've watched some videos of like band toys and stuff. And like there was like this radiation atomic set you could buy for your kid, and they could do all kind of like crazy stuff with it. And it's like, that'd be just horrible as hell now. And I don't know if you ever had them over there, but we had them here. I remember I played with them when I was a kid. It was lawn darts. The big giant darts you'd whip up in the air and they'd come back down. And actually a friend of mine, he's also my neighbor, he told me a story when he was a kid that he got one right through his skull. That I'm not sure if they were playing like chicken with him or something, or if it was just by mistake, but I know for a fact he took it in the head and it actually went through his skull, and he had to go to the hospital, and didn't cause him any brain damage or anything, but it could have, and it could have killed him too. And so we now have banned lawn darts. I think they have like a substitute now that has just kind of a round end that you kind of throw, but they've kind of died off. Nobody really plays that stuff anymore, but people don't really go outside and do stuff anymore either, so there's another reason for it. But yeah, it's pretty crazy the things we would let kids play with back in the day.
Big punch, and a World War I medal that reveals a hero's story.
We're counting down the top 50 objects found by the British public. Extraordinary, often unique finds that have changed the way that we view our past.
And you can get involved too. This week, we're looking for new treasures found by the public. So if you think you found something the British Museum might want to have a look at, then go to itv.com/treasure. And on Sunday night, we're going to be revealing the best new items.
Indeed, and this next find by 47-year-old Taunton policeman Kevin Neal in a field in Somerset provides a rare glimpse of how child's play was different 300 years ago.
Oh, cool. Finally, I get to see it.
Military historian Saul David investigates.
When I was a boy, I used to love playing with toy soldiers, and these are some of the actual ones. My soldiers would spend hours trying to defeat the baddies. And if I'm honest, it was probably because of playing with these soldiers that meant that I was back.
I remember toy soldiers now. Mine didn't look as nice as his. His are all colored. We used to have ones that, you probably remember these, just the green. Straight up, just green, plastic, made soldiers. You had some laying down with the guns. Other ones carrying different types of guns. Some just standing there. And yeah, they were a big toy back in like the 80s anyway. I'm sure a lot of kids had them. And I spent a lot of time playing with them when I was a kid.
Bound to end up as a military historian.
Back in the 1700s, Britain was one of the world's superpowers and was constantly fighting wars. Children copied the grown-ups, most using sticks for guns. But if you were very rich, you could have had one of these. Wow. Now that's
Oh, that ever
definitely
tiny.
not for sale in this shop. And it's an absolutely glorious example of a miniature cannon. This tiny, tiny cannon is old and delicate, but apparently would actually have been able to fire real miniature cannonballs. I think little boys would have had a lot of fun with this 300 years ago. So I've asked a military friend to make me a replica so I can have a go.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Ah.
Pretty amazing, isn't it? Could you make something like that?
I'm used to doing stuff a bit bigger, but theoretically the skills should be the same.
Simon is making my cannon in exactly the same way as our 300-year-old toy would have been made, by pouring molten bronze into a mould.
I think it's time to break open the mould to see what we've got. And there you are.
Brilliant. Look at that. Tiny bronze cannon.
Brilliant.
Now, in true schoolboy style, we're going to try and fire the cannon at a water-filled balloon.
Just about the load. Is that the target?
Yep, just put it over here. All it takes is a little bit of gunpowder and a tiny cannonball.
Fantastic. I wouldn't want to be on...
You imagine the damage the kids would have done with that thing? Oh my. I'm sure a lot of people got hurt with them if they actually gave the kids the gunpowder. Because you really didn't have to probably give them the cannonball. They could probably find anything to jam in the thing to shoot at somebody. Even shooting sticks, pencils, who knows what, rocks. But, oh yeah, I could totally see some kids maybe losing some eyes or getting seriously hurt with that. That looked like it hit pretty hard.
On the receiving end of that.
Oh, you would not.
I can see why this little cannon is on the list, because it really is a dangerous beast. You've got to ask the question, what were our ancestors thinking? I wouldn't let my children play with a lethal object like this.
Oh.
The British Museum holds many of the finest pieces of jewellery ever crafted in Britain. And this necklace, it's known as the Sedgeford Talk, is one of the best. It's on the list because, it's an exquisite and rare piece by the Iceni tribe, whose leader back in 60 AD was none other than the flame-haired Queen Boudica, or Boadicea as we used to call her. But there's also an extraordinary story behind the discovery of the two sections of the necklace. This main part was unearthed by a farmer called A.E. Middleton back in 1965 with his tractor. But the end section wasn't discovered until 40 years later by Dr. Steve Hammond on an archaeological dig in the same field. This end section has been valued at £65,000. It's been acquired by the British Museum, and now both parts of the necklace are on show in the museum's Iron Age gallery.
The Sedgeford necklace is the hero of its very own reunion story, as is our next find, item number 45. Only in this case, the finder went in search of its original owner. In 2009, 56-year-old Manuel Nicdeo, a data processor from Slough, found in a Surrey field a Distinguished Conduct Medal, second only to the Victoria Cross, awarded for exceptional bravery, and on it was engraved the name George Humber.
Oh, wow.
When I found out that it was a medal, and a very important medal on top of that, I just want to give it to the rightful owner. I want to give it back to them.
A local newspaper picked up the story, and a relative of George Humber contacted the paper. George had passed away, but Manuel was able to give the medal back to George's grandson, Mark. Anita Rani has her own reason for investigating this medal.
George got his medal for bravery during World War I. They said it was to be the war to end all wars, but as we know, there was another only 30 years later, World War II. It was during this time that my own grandpa fought with the British Army, but sadly, I never even had the opportunity to meet him. So I can really appreciate just how precious this is.
I'm going to meet this hero's grandson, Mark Humber.
Yeah, my my grandma's brother went to war. He lied about his age. He was 16 years old, and he said he was 18 so that he could go to war, and he never came back. And weird thing too. So used to have a picture of him on my wall here back in the day. I don't even know where it's at right now. Wife probably stored it away somewhere. But anyhow, I never noticed the likelihood between me and I guess he'd be what, I'm not sure what I'd call him. Great uncle maybe. My grandmother's brother anyway. And so anyhow, I had the picture on the wall here, and a friend of ours asked me like, "Hey, who's that person on the wall that looks exactly like you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean looks exactly like me?" I'm looking at it. I'm not seeing it at all. And then I went and I stood right in front of it. Like, I'm talking like right in front of it. You know how you can sit there and, you get those pictures where you kind of let your eyes go blurry and things jump out? Well, it was basically kind of something like that. Like, I sat in front of it for a couple minutes staring at it, and I'm telling you, all of a sudden, a younger version of my face jumped right out on it. That's all I could see anymore, was literally a younger version of me wearing a military outfit. It was a black and white picture. It was mainly this section of him, you know what I mean? Just the top half. It wasn't his whole body. Mainly his face. But yeah, he probably looked almost identical to me when I was 16 or teenage years anyways, and it was pretty crazy. Cuz I had that picture around for a while. Never ever thought about it. I didn't see it. I never, you know what I mean? It just, oh, that's my grandma's brother there, you know what I mean? And but no. It's crazy how genes can be passed down. Like I said, I looked exactly like my grandma's brother. You know what I mean? I didn't look a whole lot like my dad. I got my dad's eyes, but other than that, I guess I look like my grandma's brother. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. It is also, but anyhow, it's pretty crazy how he went to war underage, lied about it. I think a lot of people did this. I think that was common because people wanted to go and be part of it. And yeah, he never came back. But anyhow, let's get back into this.
Apparently, the medal's loss is down to a love story. So your granny was a hop picker. Your granddad went to Surrey with his mate.
Somehow the medal ends up when they're going for a walk in the country in this copse.
Well, they were courting. Romance. Young love, Mark.
Indeed.
George must have dropped the medal while courting his fiancée. This modest man never told his grandson of his wartime bravery. How much would it mean to you to find out about your granddad?
It'd mean everything, from being a small boy and hearing a few stories, sat on his knee, to think, well, this is actually where it happened, this is what he was doing. It'd just be amazing.
I soon found out that unusually, George was awarded his medal for continuous gallantry. That means for a number of brave actions throughout the war, not just one. However, it was his actions during 1918's Battle of Lys that I think were the greatest examples of his bravery. So I've taken Mark to Neuve in Belgium, a few miles northeast of the large town of Hazebrouck. This is the exact spot where his grandfather set up his gun in April 1918. They were here to defend Hazebrouck's vital railway line, which supplied British troops at the front. So your granddad's battalion were based here to just generally protect this area. Out of the blue, this area was attacked by German troops. And not just a few German troops. The British were outnumbered 5-1.
Blimey.
As the Germans pushed...
What does that mean? What did he say, blimey or limey?
Blimey.
Blimey? What exactly does that mean? If you could put that in the comments, that'd be awesome.
As the Germans pushed towards the railway line, they penned.
There's a Jesus cross in the background back there, I can see. That probably maybe has to do with the war going on in this field, I'm thinking, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again.
George's D battery into a part of the field known as Crucifix Corner and launched a lethal attack. 20 men were wounded. 11 men were killed, including a commanding officer. So your grandfather's mates, his commanding officer, the guys that he would have played cards with, the guys that he would have fought through the Somme with.
That's very, that's very close to home, you know, right next to you for that to happen.
With his officer dead, Sergeant George Humber was now in charge, commanding his men to stand their ground and keep the Germans at bay. They kept this spirited defence up for days. But they fought them off. They kept at it. And they prevented the Germans from actually getting to Hazebrouck.
Just to think of being a little old man when I was a kid, to think he was here doing that all that time ago. It's amazing.
Do you feel proud of him?
Yeah, incredibly proud of him. I'm welling up. It's almost like being able to reach out, you know, and touch him, talk to him again. It's fantastic that Manuel found it and subsequently got it back to me. Yeah, it's super.
This medal, hard-won and extremely rare, deserves its place as number 45 on the list of Britain's secret treasures.
That's it for today, but the countdown of treasures continues tomorrow.
A cufflink is an early royal souvenir. Buried pirate treasure turns up in Lincolnshire, and a 2,000-year-old comb reveals the secrets of Bronze Age style.
Oh, wow. That comb seemed pretty cool. Yeah, that was a pretty good episode. Obviously, by my reaction, the coolest thing I thought there was the little kid's cannon, the toy cannon. That is just crazy that they gave that to children to play with. Not that I could totally see why children would want to play with it. They love stuff like that. But, yeah, that was actually a pretty good episode. I've never heard of this show before. I might check out some more. I think, Little Monkey Fella is his name, the channel here. Little Monkey Fella. He has all the episodes on his channel, so if you want to go check them out, they're all there for at least probably series 1 anyway. I don't know how much is actually on here. And he's also got a lot of other stuff from UK and Britain and whatnot on his channel, so you might want to check it out for that if you're into all that type of stuff. A lot of it history and stuff about the UK and Britain. But anyhow, yeah, that was pretty cool. I learned a few things there. Pretty much everything I learned all about all that stuff. I never knew any of that stuff. War, what a horrible thing. Those guys, that was some real men back in the day that went through that stuff. I really would not want to see us ever have to go through another war now with the younger generation. I don't know how they would do it. Unless they were doing it all from behind screens, controlling drones. Because, not to say there wouldn't be some that would be willing to go out, but kids these days, younger people these days just aren't as tough as what these people were back then by any means. And, just, they didn't live through what these people lived through to make them as tough as they were. And we're kind of, you know, a little protected nowadays, and so it's made us a little soft. But anyhow, yeah, I liked it. It was a good episode. I want to thank you for watching this video, if you're still watching this video. And if you could like, comment, or subscribe. I would just appreciate that so much. And all right, you guys have yourselves a great day, and I hope to see you on another video. Bye for now.